All right, happy Friday, everybody. Welcome back to another great event at Freelancers Hub. As always, I am Jalen Vasquez. I'm the director of the Hub, and we'd like to welcome back our guest speaker today, Ms. Diana Zelvin. And this is technically it's a series, but they're related, but also unrelated. You don't have to attend the previous ones. But today we're going to be talking about become a badass connector. Relationships are the #1 key to your success. So we're going to be talking about a little bit of networking, a little bit about relationship building, and we're going to be just how to utilize your network and your relationships the best way you can to get work and just establish meaningful relationships. I mean, especially after the last 2.5, 3 years of COVID, it's a lot of isolation, and we're kind of slowly getting things back to the real world and trying to connect with people again. Some people forgot how to connect with people. I was a little bit one of them. So very happy to have her here back with us. Just a little bit of info about Diana if you haven't attended her previous sessions with us. Diana is a business coach and licensed psychotherapist who has been helping people and organizations for 27 years. Since the start of the pandemic, she has taught hundreds of people in workshops, webinars, and group coaching programs how to get unstuck, become empowered, grow their business, and live their best life even during uncertain and challenging times. She's a Brooklyn resident of over 3 decades and is also known as a community leader who spearheaded impactful community projects and causes as a business strategist, working with different organizations on fundraising, growth, and development for many years. And she is also a long-standing board member of the North Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce. So we're happy to have her back here with us. This event is being recorded, so if you do have to head out early or would like to review the presentation, it will be available to you for 30 days. And we do have a workbook as well that I will upload in the chat. But without further ado, I will let Diana take over.
Thanks, Jalen. I'm so excited this is like my favorite talk of all the 3. So I appreciate, by the way, I see some people have their videos on. Erin and Ronza and Annalie, did I pronouncing that right? Devon, Kelly. So I love that. And maybe because this is a talk about connecting, we have to be visible and we have to be seen. So, so thank you guys. So I also want to introduce and give a shout out to my assistant, Erica, Erica Jones. You want to give a little wave? You must be there somewhere. She's going to be assisting Jalen in fielding some questions, and she's going to be putting info in my chat so you can contact me after if you want to set up a coaching consultation or you want information about my upcoming 6-week group coaching program, Becoming Unstoppable in Your Business, and for some dates for some more free upcoming workshops. So that'll be in the chat, and we'll talk more about that at the end. So let's talk about the power of relationships and how they are the #1 key to your success. You know, maybe you're here because you want to substantially grow your business and your bottom line. You don't know where or how to get more clients or customers. Maybe you feel stuck, alone, you're unsure, and your business is not making the progress that you want it to make. So instead, you're feeling, instead of feeling fulfilled, you're feeling anxiety, maybe some stress about getting work, and it's keeping you up at night. And so you want to increase your revenues and you don't know what the best next steps are for your business to get it to the next level. So we're going to talk and you don't know who's going to help you, who's going to give you the help you need. Freelancers Union, and not to fear, I am too today. And today you're going to discover that the way forward is the most fundamental, yet yields the most impactful and profound results. Your most valuable asset lies within something you already have. You have relationships. So building genuine, powerful connections is a total game changer for your life and your business, because business is all about relationships. People want to do business with people they know and trust. And no matter what kind of work you do, I want you to start thinking about that you are in the business of building relationships. That's your business, no matter what you do. And Harvard research found that your friends account for, if you can see this, 90%, our friends account for 90% of our success and failure in life. That's crazy. That's a lot. So that just shows you how important they are. And they shape our lives. You know, our relationships shape our lives. And to succeed, you can't rely on hard work and talent alone. You'll have lots of talent, but that's not going to just get you there. You need others' help and support. And the world's top entrepreneurs will tell you that the key to their success is that they built their businesses around the relationships. They had mentors, they had partners, they had friends or associates and colleagues who shared valuable advice and opened doors to the right people and to opportunities. You know, people often aren't aware of the vast power that lies within their connections. And your powerful connections can unlock doors to your unlimited opportunities. And check this out. LinkedIn research from 2016 found that 85% of jobs were found through networking. So keep that one in mind. Even though if you're freelancer, I consider jobs in that same category. And, you know, relationships can give you support, advice, make introductions and referrals, or even become partners or clients. Become your biggest ambassadors and advocates for you and your business. So over the past few years, I've brought in a total of $12 million from my projects and other organizations. I've been doubling my income every year for the past 3 years, and I'm on track to outperform myself. All of it came out of my relationships. Because people, again, want to do business with people they know and trust. Now, I wasn't born with a network of powerful relationships, nor did my family have money or connections. But over time, I did learn how to get in the room, how to meet the right people, and how to nurture those relationships and add value to their life. So today, I'm going to teach you how to tap into your relationships from your past and your present in a new way. We're going to do strategies on outreach that you can start today. I'm going to teach you how to meet new people and how to turn strangers into friends, and then how to cultivate the relationships to create a steady stream of opportunities, advice, and new clients. And we're going to talk about a lot of strategies, and I'm even going to give you examples of scripts you can use as, you know, if you want some templates so you feel more comfortable and confident. Sometimes it helps just to hear how people might word things. So you're going to learn my secret sauce for creating authentic, powerful connections. There are 3 actions you can start taking today. Outreach, be curious, and show generosity. Those are the 3 most important principles for building your relationships. And, you know, you're going to learn how to create mutually beneficial relationships so you can be better at becoming a badass connector. So who here is stoked about becoming a better badass connector today? Put your hell yeah in chat. Yeah, it's Kelly, thank you. But so how did I become such a badass connector? How did I get the personal cell phone number of New York City's mayor, Eric Adams? How did I become good friends with Marty Markowitz, 3-term Brooklyn Borough president and the man who put Brooklyn on the map? And anyone who went to my past workshops, that's Jackie of the Ample Hills story, not, you'll have to ask me about that. But I was connecting them. I was introducing Marty to help their new ice cream business, The Social. She's one of my coaching clients. How did I become good friends with Rhonda Ross, Diana Ross's oldest daughter, and with Berry Gordy was her father. He is her father. He's the founder of Motown. How did I become good friends with my dear friend, Congresswoman Nydia Velasquez? How did I meet Nancy Pelosi, Speaker of the House, on a few occasions? And her husband, Paul. How did I get to meet Speaker of the House, Minority Speaker of the House, the esteemed Congressman Hakeem Jeffries, and talk to him about environmental justice and food insecurity issues? How did I come to have Cynthia Nixon at my house when she was helping her in her run for governor of New York State? But most importantly, how did I meet Raphael Espinal? He's executive director of the Freelancers Union. That's him on the right with the pin. And I met him when he was a Brooklyn council member, and we both were working on environmental causes. And he spoke at this Green Roof event that I did. And there's Raphael speaking at the event. And because I already knew him from those days, I reached out and I talked to him about doing some workshops. So that's how I've come to be here. And, so some of these are recognizable people, but, have a lot of relationships and a lot of connections with faces you might not know. But I became friends with most everybody because I was interested, and I'm curious about them and what they do. And I often think, how can I help them? Being in service and helping other people is the key to the strong foundations of mutually beneficial relationships. Generosity of spirit is the way. The people who know me, they often say, Diana knows everybody, and she's such a connector. But when I started my professional life, I literally knew no one. So how did I get this way? Oops. It all started at art school. I had gone to college to be an illustrator. But when I graduated, I had no idea how to get work or clients. They didn't teach us this very important skill in art school. So when I got out, all I had was a portfolio full of paintings and a phone book of yellow pages to guide my way. I thought, well, maybe the yellow pages can help me. And they did, because this was 1985 and before the advent of computers. I'm such a dinosaur. And so you have to be resourceful. So I looked up phone numbers and companies and called them asking to speak to an art director. And I was absolutely terrified. I mean, back then you could call companies and people would answer the phone. But I would force myself to make these cold calls. And once in a while I would get an appointment to show my portfolio. In those days, they would do what was called drop off. Like you couldn't send your work through email or your link to your website. So I didn't want to do drop offs. I wanted to meet them. So when I would get a portfolio meeting, I felt like I'm halfway there, I scored. And that is where I learned to get clients. I realized that I had to meet someone in person and not just do the drop off. And that's how I first got one of my most important clients, which was Penguin House Publishing. And Becky Laughlin was the art director, and she took a chance on me. She looked at my paintings and she signed me one of my first book covers. And after that, she every season she would get a list of manuscripts and she would look through them and she'd say, oh, that's a Diana Selvin book. So I did do great work, but I also created a great relationship with Becky. And maybe I did great work because of that relationship with her, because, it really does go both ways. But after almost a decade, I changed careers because I was lonely painting at home alone every day. And as you maybe can tell, I'm pretty social. So I changed careers and I became a social worker and psychotherapist, which is a career focused on building trusting and helpful relationships. And then some years later, I saw that my neighborhood could use a good health club. And we didn't have one. And I thought, well, how hard can it be to open one? And it turned out it was very hard. And this is an architectural drawing of my health club from my architect. And after taking a class on entrepreneurship in the beginning of my journey, the instructor took an interest in helping me. And he said, so how many names do you have of people on your list for potential investors? And I said, well, I have 2. And he was like, 2, you need like 100. Ask your friends and family with money. And I was like, friends and family with money. Dear God, how the hell am I going to find some investors? I was really scared. So I really put myself out there once again, not with a phone book, but it was really terrifying. I wanted this dream, but I learned that my friends all had connections, and their friends had connections, and their friends had connections. And so over time, I filled 25 notebooks filled with hundreds of names and numbers of people that I had reached out to. And, I did eventually raise $2 million. I would go to like real estate events because I knew developers. I was scared doing that too, but I was like, I have to be out there, have to meet people. And developers would be interested in health clubs, and they were also people with money. But unfortunately, the health club project blew up almost overnight after 4 years of hard work. And I moved back to, rebuilding my therapy practice. But a few years later, as a parent volunteer, I went on to raise $2 million for my son's public school to build a rooftop greenhouse classroom. And that's the beautiful classroom. And some of the real estate developers from my health club days became some of our largest private donors because of my relationships with them. But most of the money came from government funds from 6 elected officials. And there's a few of them there. Brooklyn Borough President Marty and Diana Reyna. She was our councilwoman at the time, and that's our Joe Lentil, our state assemblyman. And I met most of them before the greenhouse project when I was actually an education activist. And the mayor at the time, Michael Bloomberg, he was underfunding schools, he was closing them, and he was trying to replace them with charters. And so I joined a group of moms we joined our elected officials protesting the closures together. And we planned, we plotted, we organized large protests, and we became friends. So when me and another mom had the idea of building a greenhouse rooftop classroom, I already had friendships with many of the elected officials. And sure, they love these architectural renderings of the greenhouse. And that's my son. He's 15 now. So that's how long ago that was. But they already knew me and trusted me and were open to hearing about it. So there's some of the, our garden party. That's Diana Reyna, the councilwoman, and that is Tim Gunn of Project Runway. And there I am introducing him to our principal. And that's for another talk. And so these guys, they were young in their career. And Antonio, the guy on the right, that's Lincoln. Now he's our councilman. And Antonio became a councilman. He was chief of staff for Diana Reyna. And there he is with me on the right, congratulating him when he became Brooklyn Borough president. So you see how over time, these relationships, they grow in their careers, and then you continue on with them. And after the project was completed, I started getting hired by a lot of nonprofit organizations to amplify their causes and raise a lot of money, which again, all came out of my relationships. So this is a campaign against hunger. That's me collecting money in the background. So when I would get hired by a nonprofit, I would think about who did I know or who did I need to know who could be excited about their cause. And that's, that's how, and I would put myself out there again, you see my pattern. And that's how I was able to accomplish fundraising efforts for a lot of these organizations. This is Brownsville Community Culinary Center. That's our mayor now, but he was Brooklyn Borough president. He spoke at the event at Brooklyn Bowl. That was an awesome event. And, you get involved with nonprofits, you do meet a lot of people. The firehouse, I was raising money to convert a firehouse community center. And then it was when I was working for Streb, and that's Elizabeth Streb with the crazy hair, me and my son, for her extreme dance company, where I met Rhonda Ross at their gala. And her young son had just given this like amazing speech. He was accepting an award in place of someone who couldn't be there. And I just went over to Rhonda and I gave her the video I took of her son, because she didn't have a good view and I had a good view. So I gave her the video and we started to talk and we found out we had a lot in common, not singing. I'm not a singer, but we're both older moms. We both have only children. Our sons were close in age and both our sons are interested in being filmmakers. And in addition to her work as a singer-songwriter, and this year she with her mom was a Grammy nominee. She wrote a couple songs with her. They didn't win. But like me, she is also deeply into personal development. She calls herself a personal power practitioner. And she does a lot of motivational speaking. And she's an amazing speaker. And the past few years, we have partnered on speaking engagements together in various forums to help empower others. So part of my message today is you just have to reach out and talk to people, a lot of people. For those of you who are too young, that's a Rolodex. That's where we used to put contacts in. People would go, put me in your Rolodex. But you don't, when you reach out to people, you meet people, you don't go in with the attitude that you need anything from them. You just want to have some great conversations. And I'm going to talk later about, though, how this is going to help your business. But if you can already see how it has helped all the work I've done over the years. But, who knows? You have some great conversations. It might turn into a fabulous relationship. And all the people I know all came out of being friends first. I help them in some ways. I love matchmaking. I love introducing people to other people. I introduce them to great causes. I invite people to great events and I support them. Like when Cynthia Nixon ran for governor of New York State. I first met her, though, when her and her wife, Christine, were education activists with me back in the day. So I want you to start thinking about friendship first. And how can I help others? What do I have to offer them? So like if you're a graphic designer, you want to think about you're helping companies with a better look for their business. If you're a writer, you want to give companies or individuals powerful copy. If you make jewelry, how do you make people, you want to help people feel more bold and beautiful wearing your jewelry. Whatever you do, think about how can I help them? And sometimes just being interested in them and listening is the biggest gift. So if a girl from a small town with a difficult background who started off as an artist with only a phone book of yellow pages to guide her way, can now have a vast network of amazing friends and connections where we all help each other. You can too. Okay, so how do you turn 2 names into 200? That's what we're going to talk about. Let me get back out of my screen share. Hold on. So where stop. Oh, cancel. I am just. Am I still sharing? Sorry.
Nope.
Oh, okay, good. Okay, there we go. So the first thing you're going to do is start with a list. Sounds basic enough, right? Oops. This is my high tech You're going to start with a list, and you're going to think about, what do you need for your business? Do you need advice? Do you need support? You need guidance? Do you want to brainstorm? You need introductions? You need referrals, right? You need more clients and customers, right? All of the above. So with that in mind, make a list for each category. Like, this is the list for people who maybe could give me advice, or this is a list I feel comfortable asking for introductions, or this is someone I know who would be good at brainstorming. Who do you already know that you could talk to for support, for guidance, for feedback, for advice, all these things, introductions, referrals? And I want you to think about who you already know in a new way, right? So you have friends, I've given this talk before, and people are like, I don't know a lot of people. You forget about people that you know, or that you don't have to have a big group of friends, but think about of them, like, what do they do, right? Or you've had mentors, or you've had colleagues, right? Your best leads are going to come from people who already know you, as we said, because they trust you and they know what you're good at. So start with your current relationships, and they know your strengths. Your friends want you to succeed, and all your friends have their connections and networks. So do you know people who are bookkeepers or accountants or lawyers or doctors, medical professionals, financial advisors, executives, other people in creative fields, in media or PR, other business owners, entrepreneurs? There are people who are connectors. Right? So think about them. Then I want you to think about connecting with dormant ties. So what that means is, these are people, you guys can see, you can always get screenshots. These are people you haven't connected with in a long time, but they may also be some of your best prospects for referral sources, because you have a long history and they already like you and they already trust you. And most of the time they will be thrilled to hear from you. And at the very least, you'll have reignited a valued past friendship or relationship. So think about this. Think about people you haven't been in touch with at least a year, maybe 3 years, maybe 10 or 20 years. They can be people from childhood, high school, college, graduate school, people you volunteered with, people you were in clubs or activities with. And what I like to do to jog my memory is, I just go through my emails alphabetically, and I scroll down. I was like, oh yeah, that person. And then go to Facebook and look at your Facebook friends, and go to LinkedIn and see who on LinkedIn are you friends with. So I'm going to give you, I have a couple of examples that just show how important it is to be visible on social media for your business, not just in marketing, but so that people from your past can find you. I mean, these two things happened kind of close together. I had someone that I worked with when I was 17 at the Athlete's Foot in the Galleria in White Plains. It was just this cool mall. And I'm turning 60 next month. So that's a long time ago. This is how, when I say dormant ties, this is how long ago it can start. And Chip, that's his name. I couldn't believe, I was like, oh, I know that name. And then I was like, oh my God, that's a long time ago. And he reached out to me, and someone he knew had shared a post of mine, and he remembered me, and he wrote to me and he told me how he remembered me as inspiring then, apparently full of energy, and I was engaging. These are his words, and always with an embracing smile when we were friends. But he's now 58, and he's having a hard time in various parts of his life that he wants some coaching help on. So that was a really cool old tie. And then I had someone who same thing. Someone else shared a post I made on LinkedIn. This guy, Roger, I met back when I was doing the health club 15, 18 years ago. And he reached out to me, and he owns some hotels and health clubs. He's a business consultant, and we've been talking a lot. It's been amazing reconnection. And he had me join. He has a book club with all these CEOs. So now I'm meeting his connections. And now, I was on his podcast, and he interviewed me about how to motivate people using empathy. That's a whole nother conversation for business leaders. And now we're going to be working on some workshops together. So dormant ties are really powerful. So start making a list of at least 25 contacts. And you're like, I don't know. You will find them. Trust me. And the more you start remembering people, the more others will come to mind. Then make a list. Put it here, right? 25 contacts. Then choose like your top 10, your VIP contacts that you could reach out to today. That, you would, that you think that they would be really happy to hear from you, and who knows. But I know it's going to happen. I already know how some of you feel. You're like, I'm afraid. Of course. So you want to adjust your fears, because we're afraid, but like, why are we afraid? A lot of people have fear about reaching out to ask for help, especially from people they know, which is ironic because what can help you the most is the most avoided. I was at an event for freelancers in my community, and I got to talk to all these freelancers, and I was telling them about, you reaching out to your friends, and like, oh no, I can't do that. It's like uncomfortable. I'd rather reach out to strangers, but strangers don't know you, and they don't know your strengths, so you have to identify what your fears are. What are they? Are you afraid of rejection? Are you embarrassed about how you're going to be seen? Are you afraid of bothering people? Are you afraid you're not entitled to ask for help? Some people may be nodding their heads. How do you feel about it all? And then you have to work on these fears that you can shift from a position of fear and helplessness to an empowered position. So one way of really unpacking things and uncovering things that are blocking us is to journal. Write about what your feelings are about reaching out to people, and ask yourself, what's holding me back from reaching out? And keep asking yourself questions that peel away the layers. Why am I afraid to call? What am I afraid would happen? Why does that scare me? What's the worst thing that could happen? What's the best thing that could happen? Think about it that way. Gain more insight on what your expectations are so that's just, am I here? Yeah. Gain more insight on expectations of your relationship. Okay. So this is a big topic. I'm going to get a little deep, like I have done in my other workshops, because this plays a huge role in how we feel in relationships and how we feel about reaching out to our relationships. Now, most people don't think about this, but our parents are our first experience of being in a relationship. So how they related to us and how they treated us in part sets us up for how we expect a relationships to go. And as babies and young children, we internalize what we learn about being relationships from them, meaning it becomes like part of our almost our DNA. And also our relationships, if you had siblings, can also play a large role in what you feel relationships are going to be like. But by the time we're old enough to have other relationships, friends and relatives and babysitters and teachers, our views are pretty formed. So now as adults, unless you've been in therapy or you work on relationship issues, it's hard to see ourselves in relationships in other ways that differ from our family of origin, our original relationships. So this is an oversimplification, But if our parents, the first most important people in our lives, love us, support us, nurture us, then that's what we'll expect from others. But if we weren't getting our emotional needs met, which is a lot of us, as we talked about in the imposter syndrome workshop, if we weren't safe, if they were too controlling or critical or rejecting or unstable, it would be hard to imagine or expect that we could have relationships with people and they would be different than that. So if you're afraid to reach out, you want to examine where some of these feelings about yourself, or maybe negative feelings about reaching out, come from. Do you feel deserving of asking and or receiving help? Are you a giver, not a receiver? I just want you to know that everybody, it's a basic fundamental need, that everybody has a need to give and receive. So it's not good. I just want to make sure people understand when I say be generous, don't just give, because then you're not letting your friends give to you. You have to receive too, and that makes them feel good. And, so think about, did you get help and support early in your life? Were others there for you if you needed it? Were your parents tuned in enough to know what you needed most of the time? Or did you have to ask for help? Or maybe you couldn't ask for help because most kids don't. So, and what was happening that would make you afraid to ask for help? So that's some of the deep work. Like I said, we've been talking about in my past 2 workshops, especially the imposter syndrome one. So although it's not the focus of today's workshop, you can get on my email list. Erica's putting my email and my website in the chat to find out, when I'm going to be doing some more workshops on imposter syndrome and other similar topics. And we might do another one some months down the road for the people who missed imposter syndrome. We might do that here. So you can go to my website, you can go to my email, and either way, you can get updated about upcoming workshops. And then you just need to practice. You have to strengthen that outreach muscle, because the paradox is the more you avoid reaching out and the more scary it seems, then the more scary it becomes, because avoidance creates into what's called anticipatory anxiety. The anticipation about reaching out is actually worse than when you do it. And then you discover most people are so happy to hear from you. The more you talk to people, the more comfortable you will get at doing it. And I just want to mention this book, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. Let's see, I have it here. This book, it's very dog-eared and highlighted. I got this book when I was doing the health club and had terrors and couldn't sleep. And I had signed a lease and I was paying a lot of money a month. And I was like, where the heck am I going to find people? But that helps with a lot of my fears and on all my fears, not just on outreach, because that's a good book about fears. Okay, so then what you're going to do is you're going to reach out, you're going to call, you're going to email or text to schedule a conversation. This is a major part of your marketing plan. You need to do it a lot, so you're creating a steady stream of clients on a regular basis. So assign yourself a certain amount of outreach to do daily, weekly, and monthly, and schedule it in your calendar like any appointment. Because if you don't schedule it, what's going to happen? You're going to want to avoid it because maybe you're scared, so you procrastinate it because of your uncomfortable feelings. And then ask them, set up a call or a Zoom, or offer to meet them for coffee or take them out to lunch. If you reach out to 3 people every day, whether current friends or dormant relationships, That's a lot. So you could do 3 a day. It's 15 people a week. And that's 60 reaches. Is that a word? 60 outreaches a month. But first start with an easy win. Contact someone you know who will be happy to hear from you. That way, you build your momentum and your confidence, and it will help inspire you to feel hopeful about further outreach. I think I'm just going to give a couple of examples, and let me stop for questions in a little bit. Erica, should I be checking the chat?
Well, we have a really good question here that a lot of people can relate to from Lena. It says, I am worried it'll come across as I only reach out when I need help. So can you give some examples or strategies on how to reach out or what to ask for?
Lena's saying she only reaches out when she needs help.
Well, I'm worried it'll come across that I'm only reaching out when I need help.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's why it's important to not only reach out when you need help, right? Now, your fear that it's going to come across that way may have more to do with more deeper issues, because maybe that's not the only time that you do reach out. But if it is the only time you reach out, if you've cultivated the relationship, that's totally fine, right? When I say cultivated, do you get together with them just to get together or have a call just to see how they're doing? It's true. You don't want to be the person who's just reaching out when you need help. And, I remember my husband, he's a photographer. Two friends in particular, every time they contacted him, I was like, I know they want to borrow a lens. They want you to help them find a photo assistant. They only reach out when they need help. And it isn't cool. But so you got to balance that with other cultivation. And that's what we're going to be talking about. And if Lena later wants to come on, because I do want to I want to have people talking, we can talk more about it if that was not a satisfactory answer, or you have more questions about it. But so for current relationships, and here's some examples, keep it intimate and breezy. Hey, Jalen, I'd love to talk and catch up. I want to hear what you've been up to and how you're doing. You may not know what I'm working on lately. I would love to talk to you about it and get your feedback. Your opinion means so much to me. So that's light and easy, right? So that's asking for help, but that's not it's not a lot, right? You're just asking. People love to give advice. Who doesn't love to give advice, right? For dormant relationships, you can start off with something like, hey, Tina, even though it's been a long time since we've been in touch, I have such fond memories about our relationship, right? You want to talk about the past relationship. I'd love to get back in touch and catch up. So that's easy, right? I want to hear how you're doing and what you've been up to. Over the past few years, these are the kind of things I've been doing. Or maybe you say something like, hey, Jennifer, I just came across an old email, or maybe you came across a photo or a Facebook post and made me think about you and wonder how you doing. What are you up to these days? I'm doing well. And then, add something personal about yourself, because it's usually in an email, right? We got a dog during the pandemic. Actually, we got cats, but I started ballroom dancing lessons, or my son is a sophomore in high school now. Can you believe it? Say something you remember or miss about them. So I always appreciated your generous spirit, or your irreverent sense of humor. These are from my friends from my childhood. A new pizza joint opened up in my neighborhood, and it reminded me of the days when we hung out at the Pizza Mia. Or I heard a Gloria Gaynor song recently and was reminded how we used to have so much fun dancing in high school. I'd love to get back in touch and hear what you're up to. Drop me a line. Let's set up a call. Look forward to hearing from you. So think about who you know to start. That would be an easy win and become more comfortable and optimistic about reaching out. So Erica, I think I saw that you said that's a great question.
Yes, there's another one here that's really good. It says, many of my freelance gigs have been purely transactional. The client isn't interested in anything other than the work delivered quickly and flawlessly. So what are some suggestions when there is no emotional component to the relationship?
Well, I mean, that's fine. Those are your current, that sounds like Abby's current gigs. I'm talking about creating new gigs, because if that's the kind of personality they have and they don't want it be, I mean, I'm not saying you have to be friends with your clients. Like, I just want to make that clear. Like, you don't have to be friends. You can keep it professional. I mean, but my point is more that your friends can lead you to clients. I don't know, Abby, do you want to come on for a minute?
Oh, sure. Sorry, I was multitasking.
Yeah, so
Much of the freelance work that I have comes through connections or referrals or sometimes placement agencies, but I find that there is no relationship there. And even if the project goes well and they tell you how much they love the work, you may never hear from them again. They may ignore your emails in the future. I just find that it's very transactional.
so are what is your question is, how do you make it more of a relationship of the current clients?
Well, I guess I'm feeling like I'm having a different experience than what you're describing.
Well, it could, because it sounds like the people that you work with were not people you knew before, correct?
Very often, yes.
Right. So I'm talking about new ways of getting new clients that, I mean, you can try to cultivate a relationship with someone who doesn't want one, right? So so I'm talking about what you can add on now into your life and how you
But
can.
I don't think that kind of freelance is going away for me.
Sorry?
I think that's a component of freelance for me and probably a lot of other people, that it is what it is and it's not going away.
Well, that's why I'm trying to shift your mindset.
Okay.
Thinking I freelanced for 10 years and I've been self-employed for 30 years in everything I do. So I'm not saying that, my husband's been a freelance photographer for 30 years, and a lot of his clients they loved working with him. And, I asked him how he became so successful. And he said, because he never turned down work, which may be to a fault. He was always easy to work with and agreeable. So I don't know, you and I, maybe we can talk after, find out what's happening in these relationships that it feels like they're too perfunctory. I do want to move on, and I really appreciate that question. But it may be something that's happening in the relationship that it's not becoming a repeat client. I don't know. I'd have to ask you a lot more questions. I don't want to put you on the spot here, but thank you for your question. And so if other people have a similar issue, I just want you to know that I'm talking about cultivating new relationships where you do want repeat. It don't have to be friends, right? Like, I don't hang out with Rafael Espinal, though I would like to, but I see him at events and we chat, but it's still professional. And, so I don't mean people have to become your best friends, but, I don't know. I hope I helped Abby, and we'll see if other people have that issue. So where was I? So this is important. So these are like, you're creating these are pipelines for new clients, right? New clients and customers. Tell people what you were doing or they won't know, right? Your friends, right? So if you want it to be more than transactional and you want your friends to highly recommend you and talk about what a great person you are and how swell you are at your work and how professional, blah, 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 then you got to be able to be comfortable talking about what you do to your friends. So during your scheduled conversation, talk about it. Be as specific and clear as possible. You may want to have a short statement you can comfortably describe what you do or want to be doing. So, you know, I'm not calling it an elevator pitch because that sounds very pitchy. But you want to be able to succinctly say what you do. And I've had consultations with a lot of freelancers from my first workshop, and they don't know what to say about themselves. So that is where you have to start. Who are you? What exactly do you do? And it may change depending on who you're talking to. You know, make it short and compelling. I coach leaders on strategies for growth as well as how to be more impactful leaders, or I help people get unblocked and empowered in their journey to becoming unstoppable in their business and life. Just something short like that. And, you know, if I was talking to a friend, I would say it even more casually, right? Then you have to be generous. Hold on a second, switch my speaker view. Oh, I don't know why this is happening again. Sorry guys, I think I have to pin myself. Someone else is coming up. There we are. So you have to be generous. So I don't know, this may be part of Abby's question, but think about how you are helping them, right? Whatever service, I didn't ask her what she does, but you want to frame things in a way that you're helping them with their business. Like you're giving them an opportunity to make their business better. Because it's proven science that people whose goals are in the service of helping others have a much more successful business in life. And, you know, again, if it's a relationship that's not become a repeat, you know, can you introduce them to someone who might be valuable in your life? Can you invite them to an event? Maybe you meet them for lunch or take them out to coffee, or you host a Zoom cocktail party. This was like a big thing people did during the pandemic. You invite 3 people, Erica invites 3 people, Jalen invites 3 people. Now we got 9 people. We do some breakout rooms, right? So that's a great way to give back and be meeting new people. Ask for advice, feedback, support, and brainstorming. Right? So again, people love to give advice, people love to get feedback, and brainstorming is really powerful, and it's in the vein of advice. So you're not just asking for help. Like, tell someone, I reached out to a guy who I knew he had a very powerful position, Charlie Marinoff, and he was chairman of the board of this company, the largest liquor distributor in the country. And I just said, you know, I would love if you could mentor me. And what ended up happening is he presented my pitch deck. I didn't pitch him. I had this program called Thrive Now, and he showed it to his company, and I met with them, and I ended up doing these 8-week training courses with employees. It came out of just because I asked him if he would be my mentor. And he was an older man. So, you know, when you're older, you're at a stage where you want to give back. So think about older people, you know, who could be mentors. But ask for referrals. You know, again, you know, they're your friends. And ask for introductions. You know, do they know someone who could use your service or product? Okay. And also, you know, if maybe you want to be strategic, maybe there's a company or someone you've been spotting or a type of work you want to do, and maybe you know someone who has some kind of connection. Ask them if they would be comfortable introducing you, you know? And when you reach out, you could say things like, hey, Ellen, hope all is well with you. I saw your post on Facebook, which was hilarious. I was just thinking about you and wanted to connect. What's been going on with you? You may not know, but I've been working on expanding my design business. I'm helping business owners buff up their branding with modern, fresh looks so they can stand out from the pack. I am so passionate about helping other business owners succeed too. So you're telling them that you're in service, right? You want to help others. And in case you know anyone who's starting a business or needs to up-level their look or their work, I would love to just have a conversation with them, see if I can help. Either way, I'd love to talk with you and hear what you're up to. Or you say something short and sweet like, may not know that I've been helping people change their life in my coaching practice. I help bring out people's potential to find their purpose and passion. I thought of you because you know a lot of people, and maybe you know someone who needs my help. So I know when you're afraid to reach out, it's too salesy, it's too pushy, but like that's message is like low key and gets the point across. It's basically, if you happen to know someone, I'd love to connect. And if not, that's all okay. But it's a great way to keep your network informed and identify new leads without creating stress in the relationships. Because again, your friends want to help you succeed. Everybody has a need to help. And so you want to tap into that. And they want to help their friends. So if they match make you with one of their friends, then they feel good. Okay, I'm going to stop. We're going to talk about meeting new people. But I just want to check in the chat. Jalen, did you or Erica, any questions?
It was just around like on some specific things to be saying. Some people feel that they really don't know what to say. So I know you kind of covered that, but that's really it.
You know what we'll do then? Let me see the time. I only have a few more pages, and then I'll take some live questions and we can talk about, what you say. I'm going to get into what you say. Because this is about meeting new people. I love to meet new people. So you're going to get it straight from somebody who really has sharpened. I just love it. It's like my oxygen. You got to go out to events though. It's Zoom. You can create really great relationships on Zoom. So I don't know what we would do without Zoom. We wouldn't be here. But going to live events is what, right after these 3 years, is where it's all about. And before the pandemic, I went to a lot of events in person. So where do you meet new people? That would be helpful for you and your business. Oh, somebody just said people love compliments. Yes, I forgot to, I did, yes. I do. I go up to somebody and I might say, like this one guy, he was like so dapper and he had this like nice suit on and it's really sharp. And I was like, you're just like Shazam. Like, and it turned out he designs men's clothing and he wanted to know, or he was like a stylist for men, which is a really cool, unique business. And did I know men who might want that? Sure, why not? I go up to strangers. Well, I don't go up to them, but sometimes I do. But I was in a coffee shop and there was this couple and the guy had on these cool two-tone shoes. I don't know, I guess, and I do women too, but it's so unusual. And I was like, those are really cool. And we started talking. And then it turned out his girlfriend had actually worked with my husband. And so now I had these new friends. So where do you go to meet new people? Let's start with that for you. It could be the coffee shop. I have some other fun stories of where I've met people, but start first in your community or your city. Look for clubs, associations, conferences. For me, I met a lot of people here in Brooklyn's huge. There's like 3.2 million people. If it was a standalone city, I think it's the 4th largest in the country. So the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce and the president for the last few years, he's really amazing. And I've been going though for decades to the Brooklyn Chamber events. I met so many people there. The Freelancers Union, Jalen and I were talking earlier, you know, in New York, they do have some networking events, but these maybe in your cities, I don't know what's going on. But anyway, that's a good place to start. So business organizations, if you're a woman, women's business organizations, nonprofit, they all have fundraisers, and you're going to meet some cool people there. So get involved in a nonprofit. And when you join an organization, oh, whoever has their mic on, please turn it off. Whenever you join an organization, you start seeing some of the same people. Like for me, you know, the Brooklyn Chamber, people consider me an old friend now because they've seen me so much, and a lot comes out of it. So part of this is a long game and also a short game. Like I'm going to talk to you about accelerating, getting new clients, but this is like, as you can, the reason I did the slideshow is to take you through, like, yes, I have a lot of decades. So the more decades you have in life, the more people you're going to know, but these relationships build and people grow in their careers. And then a lot of cool things have happened, you know, in the long run. And you can go to events that don't have to be in your industry. Like I've been to restaurant, you know, Brooklyn Chamber events for the restaurant industry, or, you know, real estate. Those are people who, you know, are tied to people with money, because you want to build your business. You have to find some people who are resourced. So just first, don't worry about exactly where, go out, cast your net wide, and just start practice talking to people. You don't have to have an agenda because you'll feel too pressured. Just go in with the attitude you're excited to meet new people and have conversations that whoever you talk to will be enjoyable or good enough. And if you leave an event and you didn't have good conversations or ones that seem valuable, don't get discouraged. We all have off days, even me. Like I might go out. This happened like a year ago. I was very like, from the pandemic, I went to an event and I was like, I have to get home. I can't talk to people. It happens, but you gotta keep going out and just give yourself credit for trying. And because almost everyone is potentially a good conversation. They have ideas, they have experience, they have their own networks with valuable resources. So now we're going to get a little into, you know, what do you say? How do you, oh, you never know who you meet who would change your life, right? You never know who you're going to meet who would change your life. So that's why it's important to get out. And now we're going to talk about how to turn strangers into friends. So hopefully this might answer the questions about what are you going to say. And so when they become your friends, now you're creating pipelines. So now they may think of you when someone needs your services. But people hate being sold. And I don't even use the word networking because it connotes a negative association. I have been to events and people come and shove their card in my face, and that's a total turnoff. But people love working with people who are their friends and make every conversation count. So think about every conversation as meaningful, and everyone has something we can learn from. You know, they all have possibilities. So what do I have here? So yeah, this is, oh, I just have a quick example where you meet people. I do, people have been to my workshops, they may hear me talk about one of my favorite things in life is my morning walk. I take a walk, and I live in a little bustling community in Brooklyn. And I was walking one day, and I had a t-shirt on with the coffee company, and a guy coming towards me, and he's like, "Oh, are you involved with that coffee company?" And I said, "No." And then we remembered each other. I knew him from a long time ago. He was like somebody I approached as a potential investor. He's a comedian. He's really cool. He does some acting. And we got to talking, and he wanted to know if I wanted to be in his film as myself. He needed a therapist. He was doing like a mockumentary about a fictional psychiatrist who would cure people in one session. So I got to be in Ethan's movie. I don't know, that was kind of cool. And then also recently, I was on my walk. I passed a guy I know, like, I don't know him that well. And we stopped. I said, "How are you? What are you doing?" And he has a startup business, and it's a non-alcoholic beer. And he's feeling overwhelmed and lost. And I said, "Well, you need a good business coach." And I told him what I'm doing, and we got together for coffee. And I think I'm going to be working with him because he thought it was serendipity. So you could be on your morning walk if you live not in a remote area. So if you're an event, let's see. Sometimes if you go to an event, you might see like who's going to be there. You might think, "Oh, there's one person I would really like to meet." And it's just as easy to go up to one person as it is to talk to a bunch of people, and just go up to them. And so, you want to say things like, "I still have build rapport," but you like, what brings you here? I mean, that's always a good opener. And usually when I go up to people at an event, I'll say, "Hey, I'm Diana Zelvin," or "I'm Diana." And then they'll say, "I'm so-and-so." If they don't say their name and then there's dead silence, that's a little awkward. But usually you put yourself on and you say, "Hey, I'm Diana, so what brings you here?" You want to keep it easy and low key and chill. And don't feel you have anything at stake, because then you're going to get more nervous, and get a quick win. So what I like to do is, so you boost your confidence. I get nervous going to events if I think I'm not going to know anyone there. And then I go in and I go right away. I go up to someone who looks friendly, pick someone out. Your gut will, knows, like you can tell. And just, sometimes people are talking, so I'll just stand by them, and then get the right moment. I'll say, "Hey, I'm Diana. What are you guys doing? What are you talking about? What did I miss out on?" Be playful, be fun. Very importantly, ask open-ended questions. This is the key. You don't want to say, "Are you enjoying yourself?" And they'll say yes. It's like when your kid comes home from school and you say, "How was school?" "Fine." "What did you do today?" "Nothing." You want to ask questions that get people to elaborate. So ask questions that have what, when, where, how. You want to start those kind of questions. And if you're really nervous, if you're really shy, or you're just introverted, or you're really nervous, make a list of like very easy questions before you go, and just think about, what brings you here? Oh, what kind of work do you do? What are you working on now? What are you excited about? Any shows that you're watching? People, through pandemic have been watching tons of shows. So, that's always a fun thing to talk about. Or podcasts, what podcasts, or books. I've been talking to a lot of people about books. There's so many great books. So what kind of books have you been reading lately? Ask them, what has the past couple of years been like from the pandemic? How has that affected or helped their work? Some people it helped, but other people it didn't. So you have to be curious. Do I have that here? Yeah. You have to be genuinely curious. You don't just do it because you want to pretend you're curious. You have to really be like, because when I meet someone, I'm dying to know, like, where are they from? What do they do? Do they have siblings? Where they grow up? It's just, that helps me give context to who they are. They're not just a name, so find an area that you could be genuinely curious to ask them. And, ask a lot of questions, but don't bombard them. Don't interrogate them. It's just to get to know them, and ask them about their work, and, see if they talk about their work. Listen, is there a problem they're having with their work? Like, maybe what you do could help them. If you write copy, or you do graphic design or branding or photography. You're a coach, maybe the things that you can help them with. And be authentic, right? Just the most important thing is just be yourself, because you're building friendships. And conversations are less stressful than pitches. You don't want to be pitching anybody. Last night I went to an event. I was like, oh, I have my talk tomorrow. I shouldn't go out, but I wanted to support my friend who was throwing this event. And I thought, I'm going to be a good friend, and you never know who I'm going to see. And I saw this guy that I met at another event. He's a police commander, right? You think, what could I have in common with him in a rough area? Well, it turns out he's really into coaching. Derby, I told him that I was going to talk about him. I saw him again last night. And he's so cool. And he wants to help. And we got together for coffee for last night to talk about what we could partner on and helping. He works with, helping kids, preventing them from the criminal justice system. And he feels like coaching has so much to offer to help give them tools and strategies. So we're putting together a curriculum that we may think about who we know that we could pitch it to and be in business together. But I only met Derby in December at another event, and then I saw him last night, and it was like so great to see him. So I was so happy I went out, and then I met some of his friends, and so it was really cool. Don't be afraid to shift the conversation to you and what you do, even if they don't ask, because you don't want the conversation to only be about them, because then they're not going to get to know you and feel like they can trust you. Because when you share something, and even if you share something like you're vulnerable about, that like really lets people in. Like, gosh, I had some hard times in the pandemic. And they'll be like, oh yeah, gosh, me too. Those kind of things. And if it feels right, say something about your business, like I've been expanding my photography business through the pandemic. And, in addition to still life photography that I did for years, I'm really excited. I'm shooting like beautiful portraits for people, whether for marketing or websites or headshots. So just like work it into the conversation. Now, this is important. Extricate yourself from a conversation with someone who you are not enjoying, right? Like, don't get stuck talking to somebody. I don't know. Does anybody have that experience? I feel it in my chest. And whether they're just talking nonstop about themselves, they don't ask me anything. Maybe they're just, it's just a one-way conversation. You don't have to like everyone you meet, right? So, I usually say something like, I'm so thirsty. I just want to go get a glass of water, get a drink, or excuse me, I have to use the restroom. I mean, that's always the easiest. And just cut them off in mid-conversation, because if they're taking up too much of your time, then they're keeping you from meeting someone else that you might be a better fit for you. My son turned me on to this show. What I think it's called What Happens in the Shadows. It's a comedy about vampires. And there's one vampire who he's not your traditional vampire. He's an energy drainer, and he just bores people to tears. He drains you of energy. So don't let energy vampires drain you. It doesn't, they're just like, some people are just too self-involved, and they're just going to be one way. So I just wanted to say, you don't have to be everybody's friend. But when you talk to somebody and you hit it off, like Derby, after we met this December, he sent me a text with a photo of a book, and then I sent him a book, and then we were like, we should get together and talk about plans. And then we did. You always, if you really like somebody, or you feel like there could be something there, don't worry, are they going to get me work? Just then say, don't just say, you say, let's stay in touch. That people don't stay in touch. You have to really do it. Like the next day, shoot them an email. So great to meet you. Maybe we could get to know each other a little better over Zoom. You want to schedule something, like that's a key, is the follow-up. you can exchange email addresses. When I met Rhonda, she, I had to text her the video of her son. So we had exchanged phone numbers. And, the next day she texts me thanking me, and I text her. And next thing I know, like, her and her son came and visited us at our house, so it was like immediate. It was like really the next day. So cultivate the relationship, and I hope that helps Abby. I am gonna, let me look at time. Okay. Before we get to your system, let's take a little break for questions. I see a lot's going on in the chat. I'm so bad at talking and looking at the chat, but what's happening in the chat? Let's see. I see Erica's answer. Oh, okay. There's a lot going on. Tiffany, my issue has always been maintaining relationships. I put off connecting with people a lot, and then I look around, so much time has passed by. Tiffany, do you want to come on for a minute?
Sure. Hello, can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
hi.
Hi, thanks for being bold and coming on. You and I are now new friends.
That's right, we're connected.
We're connecting. We're being good role models. So tell me a little bit more about this issue.
No, I can easily meet people. I'm very sociable. I'm a people person, but I don't know if it's just I get so just caught up in like work and like self-care and like doing things for family. I tend to kind of, I guess, put friends and associates on the back burner. I'll actually try to make a plan, like to meet up with them, and then something else will come up, and I'll just put it on a back burner, and then when I turn around, it's like months have passed by and I didn't meet up with them.
Okay, I got a couple of questions for you, if you don't mind. And clearly, you have such a nice, friendly voice. I can totally see how you're a people person. So were you kind of raised with like family first?
Yeah, actually, yes. Especially on my dad's side, it's always about family, always. And everyone goes out of their way for family. Yeah.
Okay. So, but see, that's a strong theme, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it may exclude friends, right? Family first. So I would want to help you shift to, because it sounds like you do spend a lot of time in engaging with family, friends first, because your family will always be there.
Right.
And if you've been raised family first, it means you've given a lot already to your family. Right.
Yeah.
And so what you put the friends on the back burner, you make a plan and something comes up with family, and then you cancel with the friend. Is that what happens?
Sometimes it's mostly from work. Because especially when I was producing in television, it's just one of those jobs where you're constantly thinking and working, like even on the weekends. Like I take my work with me because I'm always trying to think ahead and thinking of ideas. And so I would actually get burned out a lot and tired and need downtime a lot. And matter of fact, I actually just found out not too long ago that I've been dealing with like adrenal dysfunction for like years. And so that was a real reason why I didn't have any energy to, give out to like friends and connections and other people, like even to myself at times, because I was so tired. Yeah.
I feel you, Tiffany, so much. That's like another talk about self-care, and so your adrenal glands got fried, and that is what happens when people get burnt out. And that's like the other talk, right? Balancing work. There's really no such thing as a balance, but and prioritizing your needs, which may be a theme for you, when you have a full-on job like that, work first, then family, then Tiffany, and then maybe friends, right? Like maybe it was in that order. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so getting the overtaxed adrenal glands forced you to maybe reassess and take care of yourself. And, I would want to encourage everybody to examine and what, not just the job, because I know, but I think you're a giver. So you probably give, I know that, I don't know that industry, but I imagine it's a full on. But
yeah.
but I have a feeling you're a giver. You give to family, you give to your work, and why maybe it's hard to prioritize self-care. And this kind of, I touched on this in the imposter syndrome talk, that if your needs as a kid are not prioritized, there's a deep underlying message that they're not a priority. And I'm not saying that happened in your family, but that is the most common thing I find in my practice, that in one way or another, even though it's family first, it may be others first, right? And I'm not, criticizing anyone or anyone's family, but it's nuanced, but it may be other reasons why, it took you to getting sick to be like, oh, I got to do something. I would love to talk with you further about that. So, Eric, if you want to keep putting my email address in the chat. But what I would recommend, and this hopefully will help other people, is I'm a big believer in a time block calendar or just a weekly schedule. And you got to schedule in that self-care time. You got to put it in like it's an important meeting. And then your friends, right? For you, since it's been a while, like maybe you just reach out to one friend a week and put it in, like maybe it's on a Saturday. How would that feel if you did that?
No, actually, I'm already doing it. Yeah, because I put it on my schedule to meet with an old colleague that we haven't connected since the pandemic. We're meeting next Friday. We're having lunch. And comes to find out, I didn't know that she was working from home and we don't live too far from each other. Yeah.
Well, there you go. So that turns out Tiffany is already the star student without having to listen to this talk. It's exactly what she did. Okay, so you made that friend a priority. So
no, but I'm still a work in progress. I have a lot still to learn and to do. Yeah.
Yes.
Baby steps. Yes.
Baby steps. Exactly. One day at a time, one step at a time. And I'm happy to talk with you further, if you want to email me.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, and yeah, what you said about I guess the things I probably, yeah, I'm for sure, I know I picked it up from my parents and how they are with their family, because I've been unpacking a lot lately, just the things that I've gotten like from my father, like because he's so tight-knit with his family, he goes out of his way for his family. He's been like a huge people pleaser. And I picked that up from him as well.
Yeah, I didn't want to say that, but
Yeah.
I'm going to try to get you the recording, or for the next time I do a talk on imposter syndrome, because the people pleasing is part of not feeling good enough. That imposter syndrome is like when we don't feel good enough. And so we try to please others to try to feel better, or it could even be, cultural, religious, family culture, that's what you do. You sacrifice yourself to take care of others. So that may be even in your family culture. If you're saying you learned that from your dad, but I will keep talking to you, but I want to answer some other questions. So let's talk again. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay. I'm looking at Chris. If Chris feels comfortable, do you ever feel like the contacts and connections you make ever get stale? Chris, are you here?
Right here.
Great. Yay. And he said his video on. Thanks, Chris. I have some people I really love reaching. Tell me more about this. You feel like you don't have enough to say about yourself, or?
Yeah, and now I'm starting to realize I sort of reach out, like I'll reach out usually when I'm in a job slump because I freelance. Um, but I think part of me is afraid to ask for um what's it called? Help. Oh yeah. And yeah, but it just seems like, I reach out to the same people and like and some of them are out of state as well. So, like I finished college and a lot of people moved out of state. Um, so it feels really hard to like keep anything, like just like keep supplying them with like meaningful connection, and not just be like, hello, how are you? Um,
Well, so what state are you in?
I'm in New York.
Oh, you're in New York, okay. And so with some people are here from other states, right? And like, you could be from California and you and I are, this is like a meaningful beginning, right? I think about it, I would say, asking them questions and what's going on in their life, that you don't have to provide entertainment, like you don't have to, if you feel like you don't have something that comes to mind that you want to share, I mean, you can, when I get together on Zoom with some friends that live, I'll be like, what shows are you guys watching? I mean, just it doesn't have to be, or, how are things going with your family? Um, so you're talking more about friendships, that you want to keep the friendship more.
Yeah, just like professional friendships and just like, because I have a mentor of sorts who I reach out to from
Great.
time to time. It just sort of feels like, I don't know. Maybe like I've sort of been in a job slump a couple times, so it feels like I reach out too much, and then like I feel like I tell them like, oh, I was in this job, and then like sometimes it doesn't work out. So um
So that you're saying that maybe that seems negative about yourself?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I think so. And it like, and they're like, I feel like they think that like that I'm not successful enough or not like able enough, or even worse, that I'm not listening to them and like not taking their advice, because I definitely want to do that.
How old are you, Chris?
I am 25.
Okay. So you're young, like you don't, I don't mean it in a demeaning way. I mean, you're not going to have a lot of work experience at 25. So older people know that. Like if you were 35 or 45 and you had a string of jobs that didn't work out, they'd be like, oh, but you're only 25. So don't let that worry you on how it appears. Maybe you want to examine for yourself what happened, and you don't have to share here, but you want to see, was there any, what happened in that job that you learned from for the next time. But if someone's a mentor and they don't want to keep helping you, they'll let you know, like they'll tell you. And when I was I always, when I'm at a professional crossroad in my past, I would reach out to mentors and I would say, I'm not sure what direction to go in. Like, you know me and you know what I'm good at. Do you have any suggestions? And one of that has been really pivotal. So maybe it's not, if you have any even professors from wherever you went to school, like mentors are really, really helpful. So those are experienced people, and maybe people your age are not necessarily going to be the best, like people in their 20s, right, mid 20s, because they're just, you're at the age where they call it the quarter life crisis. I don't know if you heard about this, but there's some books written, like you're supposed to have things figured out and you should know what you're doing and you should be successful. And it's like a bunch of hogwash, right? So, because you haven't been out in the professional world that long. So think about older people, there and they may have advice that you don't take. That's okay. But the fact that they feel that they're giving makes them feel good and would want you to keep reaching out. So I hope that is helpful in some way. And with friends, just keep it, young people, just keep it friends and just show interest in them and curiosity and get used to just having conversations so that you feel comfortable that it's more mutual.
Very good. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks for being bold and brave and coming on. Let's see, maybe I will, oh, Sarah, so this is giving me several ideas of people to reconnect with. People who I've loved working with, but also lost contact with. It'd be good to reconnect in general. These one-on-one connections are my preference as an introvert. Also thinking about how I can be more engaged with connections on LinkedIn. Yes, appreciate these ideas, Brooks. Thank you, Sarah. Yeah, after I gave this talk, I had a bunch of people who reached out to people from their past, and it was really, really satisfying. So let's see. Okay, I'm gonna do maybe I'll get to Sana. We will take that one. It's Claudia. I always get stuck with people I don't like talking to. We'll have to find out why you always. Is it always? And if it is, why is that? Oh, energy vampires, Jill wrote. Okay, so this is important. Post it. I know we've gone over, but it seems like we still have people hanging in there. These are the important strategies. So you want to create a system so it's systematic, right? So that you have consistency over time. So you're always in the groove of reaching out, right? Like, Chris, I want you to build that muscle, connecting and creating marketing pathways. So I call them a challenge. It's just a challenge for yourself. 10 calls, I mean, maybe like for Tiffany, like one call, one a week, one a month. I'd say one a week. Schedule something once a week. That's the easiest. But if you really want to ramp up your business, make 10 calls, reach out to 10 people you already know, let them know what you're doing and ask for referrals. See what happens. What you could also do, which I didn't put up here, is sometimes when I'm working with someone, I may assign them, reach out to 10 people and say, you're working on some new projects and, they know what your skills and strengths and talents are. Could they give you some feedback on what they think you're best at? And then you start getting like some great information about yourself, and it builds your confidence because people always write really nice things. And that's another just way to reach out. But you want like 10 people, maybe like that, maybe they're similar to your ideal client, or they might know someone like your ideal client, or maybe they're a connector. Challenge 2, contact 5 dormant ties this week. Is that like a lot? Just say hello, let them know you're thinking about them and ask for an update. So no need to pitch your work. Or mention at this point. The goal is just to get back in touch with an old friend, and most likely they'll be thrilled to hear from you and ask what you've been up to. But then at that point, tell them about what you're doing. And then the third challenge is reach out to 5 people on 3 platforms. These are for you more ambitious people, like, I'm going to do this. What I mean is 3 platforms could be a text, could be a phone call, could be LinkedIn. So those are like different, where you DM somebody, and 5 people. So 5 phone calls, 5 texts, 5 DMs. That's 15 people a day. I mean, can you imagine what kind of traction you're going to get, if you really want to accelerate things? And it's an opportunity to strengthen, relationships you've been out of touch with. And it gives them good feelings and it shows an interest in their life. So now you're top of their mind next time they think of somebody who might need your service. So, these are strategies that you can do now today that can really, especially the last one, that can really change your entire business. I'm going to take a couple more questions, but first I do want to tell people, so where you can find me. I guess Erica's probably been putting it in the chat. Yep, she has. My email, diana@dianazelvin.com. I am the only Diana Zelvin in the world. So you can find me on Instagram, just put my name in. That's kind of the good thing about not having a generic name. My website is dianazelvin.com. And either of these ways, you can find out about upcoming workshops. You heard about the imposter syndrome or charge more, make more, about your relationship with money. And I have a lot of other ones that will be coming up. If you want a coaching consultation, you can schedule a free 30-minute and we can talk about what that would be like if you really want to get deeper and up level your game and you really want to bust a move in your business. And then in mid-March, I'm going to be starting group coaching. So that's a great way to get support from other people going through what you're going through. And it's 6 weeks. We meet once a week for an hour on Zoom, and it's becoming unstoppable in your business. And I want to help people build their vision for the next year, like a year from now. So that's where you can find me. So let's see, Erica, maybe you've been looking at some questions. Any good? Sana has a lot in here. I don't know where to start.
I think with Sanas, it'll be good to start with. I'm good at the initial conversation and make connections easily. I seem to have lots of synchronicities and rapport, but I'm terrible at following up and maintaining those links. My ADD, empathetic nature makes me friendly and sociable, but I then burn out and have to recover from too much peopling. And so I lose touch easily. Any advice to be more consistent or ways to stay in touch easily?
Oh, great. Sana, you want to come on?
Hey, yeah, hello.
Hi. Thank you for being brave and coming on. I feel
Yeah,
you.
sorry for rambling.
No, I got it. It reminds me of my husband. He finally is acknowledging his ADD or ADHD. So it's hard to organize, right? And so just following up is a challenge. Tell me a little bit more about that. Are there any fears in the follow-up? Is that possible?
Yeah, I guess, similar to what was it Tiffany before saying about that kind of like losing touch and leaving too big a gap, like kind of not being able to kind of maintain. So I'll need the recovery time, and so then I let things slide, and then suddenly it's like, oh, and I forget where I met them, or I kind of like, I'm good at reconnecting sometimes, but it's so random a lot of the time. And at the minute I'm trying to do something that's quite urgent with we're trying to save a building that's going up for auction in like 2 weeks, and suddenly it's escalated like kind of from something we were trying to do. So now I'm trying to reconnect with lots of people, and so there's too many balls in the air basically, and just too many leads to try and then follow up.
Sounds overwhelming.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Overwhelming. I'm going to give you a suggestion, and this may not be for right now with the building issue, but in the future, when you meet someone, that night, go home and write down notes. I do this after event. Write some short notes about them so you remember who they are. Because my memory is actually not, I don't know, age or what's happening, but and I'll have a great conversation, and then you might get hazy. So just write down something about them, write some notes. Tell me though about you right now. You want to reach out to people to help save the building. And it just feels like too many people to reach out to.
Yeah, it's because we were hoping to have a lease with it, so we had a long-term plan, but I never got all of that down on paper then, and so now it's like trying to remember all those different people I was thinking, and it's a very close, like everyone is connected here, and so I've had some really good chats today with people. There's lots of synchronicities that have led to reaching. No, I am really good at that. I would say I'm a connector in the, what's his name, Malcolm Gladwell, that kind, his tipping point. I am good at that kind of thing. I realized that a while ago, but it's just then the actual following through with it, like kind of following those leads. I'll have the conversations, but then just completely forget to make the follow up. Like,
Well, I think that, this is something that I talk with my husband about, is follow through. And it is hard when you have ADD or ADHD for follow through. You have to create some system. It may, look with the building, you're not going to be able to, you can only do what you can do. You're not going to, right? If you can't remember, you can't remember. So don't beat yourself up. You just work with the people like you've been doing, like you've been reaching out. But for the future, I I mentioned to Tiffany, I really recommend once a week, I do it on Sunday, create your schedule for the week and put down, if you've just, I took that paper down, but one about like you've met someone, or you reach out to people, just a check-in, someone you haven't been in touch with in a while, put it in your calendar, and that's, it doesn't have to take that long. It could be, 20 minutes. And it accumulates over a year. Now you've built a lot of reconnections, but you have to create systems. I think are really, sometimes can be overwhelming for someone with ADD, but it can also be really helpful. You want a system that's easy.
yeah, I've
So
never had systems. That's part of the problem, and so I'm trying to implement them, but I'm trying to implement a lot of them, if you know what I mean, like calendars and all these different things. So
yeah, don't go
yeah.
crazy in,
Mm.
with the ADD, it's really hard. You have to have a simple system. Like my husband uses a whiteboard and he
Yeah.
puts down the contacts for the week, right?
Yeah.
He has a different system than me, and that's helped him. And he's been doing, much better with his outreach, because then you
Yeah.
can erase them and you can write notes next to, I like this big whiteboard, turn it horizontally, and you can make notes right after you talk to them. But you have to find a system. That's what I really would recommend. And you got a lot going for you. You're already a connector. I think it's just really a matter of a system for you.
Yeah. I think I need to learn to delegate as well, and like a VA or something like that's kind of been really helping.
Let me tell you, that's so true. The owner of JetBlue, I had once gone to a talk where he was speaking. He is ADD, and people are like, "How do you run an airline? Like, how do you keep track of everything?" And he pulled out all these little notes out of his pockets, and then he's like, "My assistant." And my husband, he used to have his work wife, Kate, she organized him, and he had a well-oiled machine as business. He couldn't do that kind of organization on his own. So it's a great investment. Erica's my assistant. She's been helping. I don't have ADD and I still get really overwhelmed, and I don't even know like how I would do half the things I'm doing without her help. So, and she's not like full-time. We do project-based stuff. She doesn't have to be, you can have someone fractionally.
I've just started that with like a friend through an ND group, who's similar, but she's got the organizational side of it, which is the bit I need. So
Great. So you're already, it sounds like you know what you need, right?
this has been great though. Thank you. It's been really interesting.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I saw Adriana talking about compliments. So is there anyone else? Namrata. This approach seems natural for extroverts who are energized, but what about those who are introverts with social? You know what? Namrata, are you still here? I don't know if she is, but well, I'm just going to answer that anyway, because there are a lot of introverts that I get totally drained, and this is what Sana said too. Like I have to recover after going to an event. It's a lot. And for an introvert, it can feel like a lot of work. So that's okay. you know, you take some time to recover and don't beat yourself up about it, but you can have more intimate conversations. You can meet somebody on a walk or in a coffee shop, but you don't have to go to big events if they feel too stimulating.
I wrote a comment to that saying it also helps just to do like just a friends events. That way you meet friends of friends, so you're not completely estranged to everything. You know, at least a few people there, and there's at least that mutual connection of the mutual friend, so it doesn't have to be completely uncomfortable or awkward. But sometimes that helps. But yeah, just generally smaller settings altogether. Like you don't have to sign up for a 100-person networking event. You can, I mean, like our events, it's as most as 50 people. I know that's still a lot for some people, but like we do know that you have to just find the smaller things.
Yeah, the smaller events are great. And the Freelancers Union did this amazing event. If somebody wants to initiate this in their community. So Raphael partnered with my state assemblywoman, and they had, and it was, I forgot what, it was a fundraiser for her, I think. I don't even know what it was, but it was for freelancers, and it was all freelancers, and they did like a bingo. And they gave everyone a sheet that would say like writer, photographer, therapist, producer, whatever. And you'd have to go up to people and say, hi, I'm Diana. What do you do? Are you on my sheet? And, you know, if you got all the bingo, you put it in the jar, and there was a raffle. But it was amazing because shy people really went up to people because they had to ask them, because it was part of the game. So if you're somebody who wants to recommend that to your local elected or somebody you know who could be fun with friends, even like do something like that. Anyway, I think that we've come to the end of the time, right, Jalen?
Yeah, pretty much.
Unless there's a burning question. And if I didn't get to your question, then email me, and I'm happy to talk to you further about it. So I think that's it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Diana. Thank you everyone for attending. I will email everyone the recording link if you missed anything or like to recap on anything of today's discussion, and definitely utilize that workbook. There's a couple prompts in there as well. That'll be good just for reference and just to jot down your thoughts. But yeah, definitely stay in touch with Diana. We'll have her again in the future. We don't have a date set yet, but we definitely will have her in the future. I can promise you that. And stay in touch with her with everything she does. And yeah, if you have any questions for her, reach out to her directly. If you have any questions for me, you can reach out to me directly. And yeah, we hope to see you at the next event, and have a good weekend.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Jalen. It's nice to see you all. And thank you all for the ones who put their videos on. I really appreciate that. Okay.
Take care,
Have a
everyone.
good week and meet some new people this week.
Yes, take care. Bye-bye.